All right, we're actually live now. So here we go. Here's your learning target, guys. You're going to learn how to stop an animation using ActionScript, which is the programming language of Flash. And you're going to learn how to add multiple scenes to a project. Oops, and forgot. Learn how to use buttons in Flash. All right, so at the end, you will be creating something that looks like this. All right, you got a scene right here. These are two different scenes. You hit the play button, and it'll play our animation that we made. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to what you guys have, which is right here. And the first thing we need to do is we need to talk about what scenes are. All right. A lot of you guys will just keep adding layers and layers and layers onto your animations. But the good thing about scenes is think of it like a scene in a movie. You start in one area and then you cut to another area and it's got a whole new plot or a whole new script to it. That's what we can do in Flash, and it helps you kind of keep all of your layers and all of your frames kind of separated depending on what scene you're at. So if you take a look here on my screen, I've got scene 1, which is this animation, and it's got its own timeline down here. But then notice I've got the play button. Notice it's got its own timeline. So each scene will have its own timeline, and the movie will play according to the order of the scenes you have, unless you use ActionScript to tell differently, which is what we'll do. All right? So the first thing we need to do, guys, is I need you to pull up this scene window that I have popped up right here. All right? And in order to do that, you're going to go up to Window, and you're going to go down to Scene. When you click that, you'll get this little dialog box popped up. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to click, hold, and drag it over underneath this toolbar right here. What happened? Did it not have the right one on there? The CS6? All right, Stephen, man. I'll send in a work order and get that fixed for you, right? What computer number is it? 29? You know what's going to be weird is when they probably install Flash CC on his, it's going to be updated while all of ours isn't. Because that's pretty much what happens. All right. Besides Stephen, raise your hand if you need more time getting the scene panel open. All right. On there, you should have one scene already there, and it should probably say, what does it say on there? Scene 1? Very good. You can rename that if you want or leave it the same. But what we need to do is we are going to create a new scene. And notice, just like in Photoshop, when you add a new layer, in Photoshop or even in Flash on your timeline, you got that little piece of paper. When you click that, it'll add another scene underneath it. I need you to rename that scene Play Button. I'm just going to name mine Play Button 2 because I already have one for Play Button 1. And I'm just going to drag that one to the bottom. All right, so now you should have two scenes, scene 1 and one called Play Button. All right, again, the order does matter unless you are going to tell it differently with ActionScript. But when we hit Control-Enter right now, it's going to play this scene first. So let's go ahead and grab our Play Button scene and drag it on top of our scene 1. All right. If you were to preview this movie as is, it's going to look like there is no play button scene, because notice your play button scene is only 1 frame long. And if we're going 24 frames a second, you're 1/24th of a second, you're going to see it. So what we need to do is we need to stop it. So for instance, let me show you how scenes work first. So let's just very simply grab the oval tool, make an oval on the right, highlight it. Let's go to frame 40, make a keyframe, drag it to the right, and just do a classic tween in between them. So all I did is the first thing we did, we made an easy classic tween, oval on the left, go to frame 40, insert a keyframe, and then click in between them and do a classic tween. Right? There you go. We're going to go to tween classic tween. So now if you preview this, you will see how scenes work. When you hit Control Enter, it will show the ball go across the screen, and then it will continue on to your other animation. So again, when one timeline is done, it automatically goes to the next unless you tell it otherwise with ActionScript. All right, so let's go ahead and exit out of this. And let's go ahead and highlight all of this again and delete it, remove frames. We're going to start back over with nothing on it. Delete everything. That's just to show you how scenes work. So you should have one layer with no keyframes on it. Okay? First thing we need to do this like whole intro scene or screen to play an action for an animation for us is we need to stop it on this scene. We need to just have it stand still. So in order to do that, we're going to use ActionScript to do so. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to rename label 1 ActionScript. Now I know this is different from what I used to do. When I did this with CS3 and CS5, you could put them on here, but CS or CC, Creative Cloud, thank you real quick, buddy, makes its own layer for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our stop feature or our stop command on layer 1. I'm sorry, on frame 1. So go ahead, click frame 1, hit F6 to do a keyframe. Notice it will be a blank keyframe. And now we're going to open up our ActionScript panel. So we're just going to hit F9. F9 will open up this giant window. If yours is smaller, you can always resize it. Are you good now? All right. What I want you to do is make sure you click frame 1. And the way you know that you're on frame 1 is at the top here. It'll say ActionScript and 1. That means you're on the ActionScript layer and you're on frame 1. Are we good? Now I'm going to tell you the actual programming for this because I've used it a lot. But it's very simply, we're going to type in stop parentheses. And once you start typing, notice all your frames and things that have ActionScript on it is going to be located over in this left-hand panel right here. So right now you should have one that says play button and then underneath it ActionScript, frame 1, and it should have a stop next to it, correct? Next thing I want you to take notice, look on your timeline on frame 1. Notice there's a little A located above your keyframe. That means there's ActionScript on that keyframe. All right. So what we've just done is we've stopped the animation on that keyframe, meaning it will not go on unless we tell it to do so. So if you go ahead and hit Control Enter, you'll be stuck on this white screen right here, which is what we want. We want it to be stuck on this screen because we're going to add a button that moves us along. Cool? All right, let's exit out of that and let's create a button now. So I'm just going to take my actions panel and I'm going to dock it again underneath my scenes. All right, next I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to name it Start Button. And I'm going to make a very simplistic square, like so. Now remember, buttons, graphics, and movie clips, they're all symbols, and all symbols have their own different timeline. All right. The one big difference with a button is button's going to have these like action timeline things to it, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. Once you create this nice big square here, go ahead and double click it to select everything. And let's convert it to a symbol by hitting F8. And we're going to name it B_start. And it's important that you change the type to a button. Once you've done that, let's go ahead and hit OK. Oh, hold on. I already made one. So let me rename it B_start2. When you do that, what I need you to do now is double click your button to go inside of it, just like a graphic, just like a movie clip. When you double click it, you'll notice at the top it says B_start or B_start2, and then the scene underneath it. Notice the timeline at the bottom is completely different. You have 4 stages of a button. You've got the up stage, which is what the button looks when nothing's touching it, nothing's pressing on it or anything. You've got the over stage, which is what do you want the button to look like when somebody hovers over it. Then you've got the down stage, which is when somebody clicks on the button, what do you want it to look like? And then the hit stage, which we're not going to get too much into, but anyways, I'll tell you, the hit stage is just simply where are you allowed to have the button interactive? Do you want the whole button? Do you want it bigger than the button or smaller than the button? So don't worry about that. We're only going to concentrate on these first 3. All right. So let's go to the over keyframe and hit F6. And I'm just going to very simply change the color of the fill to green. I'm going to go to the down stage, hit F6 to create a keyframe again. And I'm going to change the color to what I want it to look like when you press it down. All right, are we good to go? Aaron, you need more time? All right. Are you typing them out individually?
Yeah, because it's in Excel, so I can't pull it all at once. I have to pull one at a time. So I just flip the screen.
Wait, fair. Where's Excel? Oh, you can't click and copy paste, man?
Only one at a time.
Oh, hit Control C.
Already at the last one.
Hit escape. Why can't I enter down? All right, are we good now? Alan, we good? Jordan, we good? All right. So let's get out of our button by hitting play button 2, the frame up at the top, or hit the back arrow. And now if you preview this, you will notice your button has the interactivity of hovering over and clicking, but nothing's going to happen. And the reason why nothing's going to happen because you haven't told it to do anything. All right, Flash is only going to do what you tell it to do. So what we want it to do is when you click it, play the next frame or the next scene or whatever we tell it to do. So let's X out of this. And now here's the one important thing, guys. When you're adding interactivity to buttons or to any graphic or whatnot, you have to have it selected before you do so. So we're going to go ahead and select our button and then hit F9 to pop out our action script again. And I'm going to undock it so you guys can see my button at the same time here. And I know I'm on the right layer in frame because it says start button and frame 1, which is what is on there, the button. Let me know if you need more time because I don't want to lose anybody on this next part. All right. So we're going to add that when the user presses it, we get to tell it what scene to play. So Flash has this nice little library of ActionScript kind of like snippets you can use to just click and edit a little bit. Over to the right of where it says start button 1, you see these like little icons right here. And you have one that looks like carrots from like HTML. If you click that, you get these code snippets. And I'm going to dock it right next to my action script here in a second. Just so I can kind of see both. And you get the window that looks like this. Again, if I'm going too quick, stop me. All right. All right, I'm waiting. Are you done with my flash drive?
Yeah. It's just the one, right?
That's all I have so far, man.
Okay.
We might be using team pictures for our lower levels, just so you know.
Cool.
This scene panel, Steven, is under Windows. Good? All right, so everybody's got this panel up right here. All right, we are going to go in the action script arrow, so I'm going to go ahead and click the little action script arrow next to it there. And these are all the different things the action script can do. These are all the categories we have. So if you were to click next to where it says timeline navigation, notice there's some that says stop at this frame. I just told you that one. That's just stop parenthesis. But under timeline navigation, if you keep going down where it says click to go to previous scene, click to go to next scene, click to go to scene and play, we're going to choose and get used to clicking click to go to scene and play. That way we can always have control over what scene and what frame we want. So if I go ahead and double click that last one right there, it says the selected symbol requires an instance name. Flash will create an instance name before applying the code sample. This right here, guys, is dictating up here. Let me go ahead and hit cancel on this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. When they're talking about instance names, remember, when you create symbols, you can drag as many of them out as you want, but each symbol can have an instance name under its properties. So I'm just going to go under my properties where it says caret instant name, and I'm just going to type in start button. Oh, you have to put a underscore in it since it's program. I'm sorry. We're going to do start underscore button. That should work. Go. So all we did is name the button. That's all. No, it's just start underscore button. You good now, Angelina? Yeah. Alan, you good? Jordan? Yeah. Christian? Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click to go to next scene and play. When you do that, two things happen. I'm going to stretch this out first. The first thing that you're going to see that happens is it's going to flip back to the action script, and it's got script all, and there's a whole bunch of words and all that, right? The first thing I want to point out, guys, is look at your timeline. All right? Look at your timeline at the bottom. You made a layer named button, and you put the button on there. But when you do action script now, it kind of creates its own layer called actions and starts to put it on there. All this action script goes on its own layer. All right? Don't worry, it's still on the button, because if you take a look in this, if you read it, it will tell you what it's being applied to. All right? If I unhighlight this blue stuff so you can see it, anything that's grayed out is comments. So it tells you what's going to happen. So it says, click to go to scene and play. Clicking on specific symbol instances, play the movie from the specific scene and frame. Instructions. It even tells you instructions. Replace scene 3 with the name of the scene you would like to play. Replace 1 with the frame number you would like the movie to play from a specific frame. Okay? This is all the action script. So, yes, if you get into Flash more and you start programming more with Flash, you might start memorizing all this. But I think it's a lot easier with these code snippets to kind of learn and just double-click things. All right? So really, this is your programming stuff. But all you need to edit and alter is this right here where it says movie clip. Go to and play, and I'll tell you what. So notice at the top here, reading it from the top down, it says start button dot add events listener, all this stuff, and then it says function event mouse event. It says movie clip this dot root go to and play. Da, 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 da. This is the key word I would assume. When you click it, the start button, it's going to go to and play frame 1 of scene 3. Well, we don't have scene 3. We've got scene what? Scene 1. Remember, we've got the start button scene, and then we got scene 1. Now that I've got that, I'm going to dock it back up. Control Enter. And now if I click my button, they see me rolling. There you go. All right? Pretty easy and pretty simple, right? Okay. Now, when you actually do your buttons, you can put words in there. You can have animations in there. You can do whatever you want. You can make this scene as long as you want. You can put a movie clip so it looks like something's constantly playing in the background on frame 1. Remember, movie clips, doesn't matter how many frames you have. As long as it's appearing, it's going to constantly play over and over and over again. You can make your intro scene however big or long or short or simplistic as you want. Okay? Yes, what's your question? Did you not put the right scene in there?